Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. The next comment or question comes from David M. And this was in response to the Great Keyboard Challenge, Gibraltar 3-tier keyboard stand, a video I did in August 2022 when I was helping Wayne Harris, the keyboard player with Bon Jovi, which is a Bon Jovi tribute band in the UK, or I say in the UK, but they go all over the world, build his Gibraltar 3-tier stand for to help him when he's gigging. And they do look like the dog's doodahs on stage. Anyway, David M writes, "Oh my God, you must have such patience. Even having to cut the tubes to the correct height, then cutting more off. Ah! I wonder if taking it apart and then putting it back together is as big as a job. In a studio setting, it would be great, but on the road, oh my God." Enjoyed the video though. Think I'll stick to Quick Lock and maybe one day something like Jasper's stands. Well, one of the reasons why Wayne actually approached me about helping him with this was exactly that, because Wayne would tell you now he would start throwing things around if he had to do the building himself. He's done quite a lot of tweaking actually, so what you saw leave the backyard is not what he's actually gigging with at the moment. We've actually made more changes to it, or rather Wayne has instigated more changes to it, and I've done some changes to bits and then sent them up to Wayne, who lives sort of up on the M4 corridor, whereas I live on the south coast. Anyway, what I would sort of probably turn around and say, is it patience or is it therapy? And to answer the question, the stand does not break down in the same way say a Quick Lock might do, but it does break down into 5 easily transportable pieces. The crossbars, so you would have seen there were 3 crossbars. There was one that sort of takes the top keyboard, there's one that takes the middle tier keyboard. Those 2 crossbars just literally disconnect with the help of a Gibraltar key, which looks like an Allen key, but sorry, it looks like a big radiator key is probably the way I would say it, but it's not. So they come off, and then there's another curved piece at the bottom which effectively gives the stand a lot of stability. That just comes off as well, and then basically you're left with the 2 side structures, which are literally about that thick, which you can just put in the side of the van. And you know, we timed breaking it down and putting it back together, and you know, we can break the stand, or both Wayne and I could break the stand in under 5 minutes and reassemble the stand in about the same time frame. So, you know, people look at this and think, oh, it's dead complicated to put it together and break it down if you're doing it as a gig perspective. And the answer is, you can probably break it down in almost as much time as you would be breaking down a 3-tier Quick Lock. More or less. And I did a video which, if I remember correctly, I will put the link to the video, actually showing me breaking it down and timing it. Now, what you can see is the fact that when we were doing the video, we were putting lots of what we call lock-in pieces, and these are made by Gibraltar, and effectively what you do is when you've got your Gibraltar stand set up exactly where you want it, you put these lock-in nuts on, or lock-in pieces if you like, and they clamp down onto the pipes. And what they do is they provide 2 functions to the stand. Number one, they give the stand strength in that the poles are all in compression. So if you're putting something quite heavy on top, what you don't want is clamps moving down the poles, because they are nice chrome poles. And by putting one of these locking pieces onto the chrome pole, effectively what you're doing is creating another point where you're locking something into that chrome. And you can really tighten them up once you actually get the stand set up how you want it to stand. The second thing that these chrome pieces do is they allow you to very, very quickly locate the bars back onto the stand in the right places at the right locations without having to sort of remeasure and level, and like you would have seen us doing in the video where we sort of had levels and we're cutting the poles down, etc. So what we did when we were doing that was effectively we put these locking pieces on, and Wayne has adjusted them slightly, I have to be honest, but we put these locking pieces on, and basically when you come to reassemble, it's literally put the clamp on, put it down onto the lock, tighten the clamp up, and that clamp is obviously gripping the pole, but that locking nut is also gripping the clamp. So it isn't going anywhere. It's as stable as a rock, and you would have seen me on another video, actually, when I was a bit heavier than I am now. So, you know, I'm a lot lighter than I was when I did that video. But back in that point in time, you know, I was I suppose 110, maybe more kilos at the time. I'm a lot less than that now. And I was swinging on the Gibraltar stand, and it was solid as a rock. So that's the thing about the Gibraltar stand, is these other stands are great, but what you can't do with the other stands is, and definitely if you've invested in some fairly decent keyboard kit, even if you haven't invested in many thousands of pounds of a keyboard kit, but if you've invested, you know, in hundreds of pounds of keyboard kit, you don't want it falling on the floor and breaking. And that is the problem that Wayne was trying to solve, in that he has had keyboard stands in the past, and he's had keyboard stands collapse on him in the past in a gig, and that's you know, keyboard has gone kaput, and then he's ended up with an expensive repair bill, and you can't claim, you know, try claiming on insurance for this stuff. It ain't gonna happen. You know, it comes out of your back pocket. So, you know, the argument that Wayne used when I was talking to him about it, was I've spent a lot of money on my keyboards to make sure that when I go to a gig, I've got all the sounds and all the setup I need for that gig. What I don't want is those keyboards to end up in a jellied mess on the floor, broken. That was his rationale. That's why he went for Gibraltar. And yes, there are lots of other alternatives, but I'm going to be brutally honest and say there is nothing as robust as one of these Gibraltar stands. But to be very, very fair, they're not cheap to put together. But once you've put one together, if you're a gigging musician, once you've put one of these things together, you will never go back to another stand after that, because these are rock solid, and you can build them in 2-tier, 3-tier, or you could just have a single tier. In fact, you know, I've seen some really, really nice single tier Gibraltar keyboard stands that have been used by keyboard players as effectively the front stand here, and 2 tiers on either side like that, and they look stunning, especially with like the curved pipes and stuff like that.